What's going on, Tamers? East here, and it's a blessing that this video is even being made right now. Expedition 33 has the tightest grip on my free time, and it is a miracle that I was able to even tear myself away from that game for a moment to do this. So, we're going to make this one quick so I can go back to fighting the Paintress. But anyway, we just wrapped up our second week of events for the BT22 Cyber Eden set over here in Asia, and this week was important because it housed a lot of the DC-1 Grand Prix tournaments held all over the continent. For folks who are unaware, the DC-1 Grand Prix events are large-scale qualifier tournaments for the Grand Asia Open Finals that happen later this month. You can think of the Grand Asia Open Finals as the equivalent of a Nationals for all of Asia for Cycle 1 of the competitive season. So to learn about these tournaments and more, let's take a look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a closer look at some of the decks that topped over the course of the past week. Looking at last week's results, I think it had a little bit of something for everybody, where the DC-1 events happening all around Asia saw the current frontrunners in the game and things like Sakuyamon, all manner of Graumon decks, and Omnimon decks doing really well. And honestly, speaking of Omnimon, you see a lot of CS Omnimon at the top here, but I need to get better at my classifications because I was just adding them when I saw Nokia's pieces in the deck, like the level 6s, the Tamer herself. But honestly, what a lot of players are doing are just using her and combining her with a lot of the older cards to make this newer version of the deck that has both of the best worlds. That, and we also saw the Omnimon Alter S version of the deck, aptly abbreviated GAS, which I talked about last week from Singapore's Grand Asia Open Finals, pick up steam this week as well. I think it'll be really interesting to see how popular this deck becomes leading up to the Grand Asia Open Finals at the end of this month. We actually watched the finals match for the Grand Asia Open Singapore on stream, and the video will be going up soon on the channel, but after watching the video, I think you'll understand why I have my eye on this deck leading up to the Nationals for the entire continent. Folks who watched last week's meta report will remember that I talked about the Galaxy deck and how some of the people were moving away from the toolbox top end and going back to a more in-archetype focused deck entirely. And actually, somebody won the DC-1 Grand Prix in Fukuoka here in Japan with the in-archetype Light Fang Nightclaw deck. And stay tuned because we'll take a look at it in today's video. And then on the other side of the coin, with the DC-1 Grand Prix wrapping up, I believe those were the last qualifiers for the Grand Asia Open Finals, and because the Grand Asia Open Finals are an invite-only tournament, that wraps up the competitive season for most players, which I think resulted in the rest of the week being a lot more casual than the start of the week, which was incredibly sweaty. And as a result, we saw a lot of experimentation from decks like Dinomon, Justimon, 7th Grade Demon Lords, and more. And honestly, with a looming ban list coming at the end of the month, it seems like now is a really good time to kick back, relax, and just kind of just jam whatever you want. We really won't know what the game looks like until that list drops. So the first deck we're going to take a look at today is going to be the Galaxy deck that uses only in-archetype cards that won the DC-1 Grand Prix in Fukuoka, Japan last week. For new folks to the channel, I have a video outlining what the Galaxy engine does, but the really quick and dirty here is that it's one of the few decks in the game that can take the top card of a Digimon stack and just put it as the bottom card and get effects off of that. And then you can evolve into the same level again. And then by having multiples of the same level in your stack, you get a bunch of really cool effects. It's also just incredibly memory efficient with the level 3s Lunamon and Coronamon, as well as the level 4 Galgamon and the Egg and the Sunmon, all allowing you to either gain memory or reduce evolution costs for Digimon in the stack. On top of this, you also have the old Red Ko and Sayo Tamer, which lets you cycle down for your top Digimon to the bottom of the stack and then evolve for free. And now the new secret rare Sayo Tamer from BT22 that lets you evolve from trash at cost -2. With her, you don't have to be afraid of losing pieces early on in the game and not being able to get them back because they're stuck in the trash. The new cards from BT22 are also a great addition to the deck, where the new Lunamon level 3 is just a searcher, where in the past only the level 4s in the deck were able to search out cards. Now you have it at level 3s. The new level 4 Lekismon also lets you play down Tamers for free and has a really useful inheritance ability that lets you save yourself whenever you'll be deleted by just removing 2 cards at the same level from your stack instead. This inheritance effect is also shared by the level 5 Cressimon, who also has the ability to freeze Digimon or Tamers for a turn. And then finally at the level 6 is the new super rare Dianamon from BT22, lets you source strip Digimon and then bottom deck them if they have no sources, and it's blocker and has the coveted Ice Clad ability so that she can actually fight without using DP. Instead, she can actually fight with her source cards. And because the deck has tons of source cards by just looping cards down and back up, it's so easy to win those battles. She also has the curious inheritance effect that lets her unsuspend at the end of the turn. This effect makes a lot more sense when you look at cards like Apollomon, who lets you blitz whenever he evolves so he can attack at the end of the turn, or the new Apollomon Ace, who has the ability to attack at the end of turn using his inheritance effect as well. You also have the option of just evolving into the Dianamon stack and then just hard playing the Apollomon Ace for 7. At end of turn, he lets you Digivolve into the Grace Nova and then attack after that. I know I said at the beginning of this that this was an in-archetype Light Fang Nightclaw deck, but Maybe that was a little bit of a white lie, or in this case a blue lie, because Hexablaumon is definitely still here. This card is just too good to pass up. Being able to freeze opponents' Digimon who have less sources than him and prevent them from attacking is just such a powerful floodgate in the game right now. But all in all, with more memory efficiency, great card draw, and really powerful top-end effects, the Galaxy deck is definitely worth a second look if you haven't played it before. The next deck we're going to take a look at is going to be the Omnimon Alter S deck, which is popularized at the Grand Asia Open in Singapore. But this list actually comes out of China. I think it's a little bit different from Jackie's list over there. Unlike other Omnimon focused decks, there's a lot less tamers in this deck because you can rely on the Garurumon engine to find your cards and your level 6 Garurumon from the EX1 set as a way to gain memory back and keep your turn. The bottom end of the deck features a lot of the Gabumon Surge cards. Interestingly enough, even the EX9 version as a way to search out your DM trait cards, that being the Omnimon Alter S and the Blitz Greymon. From there, you're just evolving up the chain to your Garurumon, Garurumon X Antibody, and your Were-Garurumon Sagittarius mode from the EX9 set. Because you have the Garurumon X Antibody cards in your inheritance, whenever you swing on security, you can actually take out 2 sources whenever it would be deleted by battle, and it can actually survive. And by doing this, by swinging, you also gain a lot of inheritance effects that let you draw cards during those swings. Again, take a look at the match that we have on the channel, but I think we saw cases where he was like just drawing 3 every time he swung in order to just amass a ton of cards really quickly. And then once you're ready to end your turn with your Sagittarius mode on the board, you can just hard drop the Blitz Greymon for 7, and the Sagittarius mode sees a Digimon with Greymon get played, and as a result, he can evolve into a Garurumon named card, level 6 in this case, for free. That's when he evolves into the Metal Garurumon from EX1, who gives you back memory for every 4 cards you have in your hand. He also has a little bit of deletion-based where he can bottom deck a card with an on-delete effect, which is really useful against Growlmon. So now with your Blitz Greymon and your Metal Garurumon set up, you can use the Blitz Greymons in a turn effect to DNA Digivolve them into an Omnimon Alter S. From there, you make your swings, and then after the Omnimon Alter S swings, your Digimon split back into their respective Garurumon and Greymon named cards. The kicker here is that when you play down your Garurumon named and Greymon named cards, you're of course playing the Blitz Greymon again because that's your only choice, but for the Garurumon cards, you're actually playing down the Sagittarius mode. And yet again, he sees the Blitz Greymon hit the board and he can evolve again. And then when he evolves, you get more memory back. And at this point, it's usually your turn again. So you can just keep making swings. All in all, some really cool innovations for an Omnimon deck. Definitely check out the video on the channel that shows the match where Jackie's actually using this in the Singapore Grand Asia Open. And I think you'll have a way better idea of how the deck runs. I gotta say, it definitely lives up to its namesake and just being all gas. Each week I allow my champion level and higher YouTube members to vote on decks they want to see featured in these Meta Report videos, and this week they returned to Greymon Gaming and voted to see Gaiamon. If you like to vote on decks that you want to see featured in these kinds of videos, as well as some other cool perks and bonuses like early access to my content and stream VODs, consider becoming a YouTube member today. Again, I want to give a big shout out to all the folks who do support the channel, and with that, let's take a look at Gaiamon. I gotta say, I'm really impressed at the control maneuvers this Gaiamon deck has, where it's really cleverly setting you up for a trap where as soon as you pull a Digimon onto the board, they got you. The basic premise seems that they want to pull in the starter deck Agumon, Greymon, and the BT22 Agumon X Antibody. He might seem like a weird addition to this deck being a purple-green card and whose effect doesn't really fit with the rest of the deck, but when you take a look at his inheritance effect, he also gains memory whenever he deletes a Digimon on board. And because of that, between the Agumon from the starter deck, the Agumon X from BT22, and the Greymon, whenever an attack target changes or Digimon is deleted, you gain 1 memory. This way you can gain 3, and even if your opponent has a memory settled down on the board, this means they can start their turn with 0 memory. The level 5s are all focused on firepower, where you have the Rise Greymon from BT22, who lets you get Sec +1 in an inheritance, but also lets you play down a tamer if you have 1 or less on the board, which is really useful for this deck considering the new Yugioh Kamishiro and the Tai cards are fantastic additions. They can then digivolve into the EX4 Gaiamon. He's got a really unique ability where you delete a 13 play cost or higher, and if there's nothing to delete, you just trash your opponent's top security instead. And then at the end of the turn, it can evolve into a Gaiamon with 13 costs or more. So here you can go from Gaiamon to Gaiamon in the promo Gaiamon or the new BT22 Gaiamon. The promo here being, I think, the better target, where he can evolve, force an opponent's Digimon to attack at the start of their main phase, and then he can attack himself. So with the Sec +1, you're already checking for 2, you've already burned 1 with the previous Gaiamon for 3 security total, and the following turn, as soon as that Digimon attacks, you can rest your Yugioh Kamishiro Tamer in order to give it +3000 and make it untouchable by effects, and then they lose the security thanks to the Gaiamon's other all turns effect. This plus gaining that 3 memory I talked about before puts immense pressure on your opponent to do anything that turn, and if they can't, you just win the game the following turn. And then if your opponent is still able to make some sort of play that turn, you have the backup of the ST5 TIE Tamer, who lets you unsuspend your Gaiam to block again afterward. You also have the option of the new BT22 Gaiam, who is like the ultimate bully in Digimon now, where he physically restands a Digimon so that he can attack and then change his attack target, gain piercing 5k, and just punch that Digimon's lights out and then make a security check. You've also got some other ways to force attacks using things like the BT21 Greymon at level 4s alongside the Sephirothmon, who can also evolve off the Yuki Kamishiro Tamer or the TIE Tamers as a way to also get a final swing for game, alongside the 1-cost Laplace Demon option as well. And speaking of options, it would not be a Gaiomon deck if we couldn't just annihilate all the Tamers on the board thanks to our Hades Force as well. Some old habits do die hard. And so if you're like me and you yearn for the old days of Greymon gaming bullying, well then definitely give this Gaiomon deck a shot. And I think that pretty much wraps up this week's meta report. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. Oh yeah, the Digimon Elysian beta. Digimon is getting its own mobile card game sim, and there's a closed beta happening this month, and your boy was lucky enough to get in, which means we'll be making streams and videos for the game all month. And if you're interested in this or you want to know more, definitely give the channel a follow so you stay up to date. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here, gonna go play some more Expedition 33 before the beta hits. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Take a look at game. Let's take a look at gaming is what I wanted to say. All nasty.